Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Nickel City Mafia pregame report. Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets, Week 10, huge game. I'm Mike Thornton. Joining me, as always, my co-host Jake Podger. Jake, how's it going today, man?
Fantastic, Mike. It snowed in Buffalo yesterday, so it officially feels like we're getting into the heat of the season. And I think we're getting more rain and snow today. Not sure what the weather's like out in New York City. They don't really get as much snow. And
Yeah,
everyone gets when you say you're from New York, everyone assumes you're from New York City. Well, we're from the actual best place in New York, Buffalo, New York. So we're ready to go.
I get that same thing when I'm say from New York, so they think I eat the cracker pizza, the New York thin
Yeah,
style
New
pizza. I'm
York
like,
style.
no,
No,
that
ours
no.
is thick crust.
That's not
Yeah.
the case. And yes, we'll get to the weather report, but the weather is definitely not what you're experiencing there in Buffalo. And I was telling you out here on the West Coast, I mean, we're going to hit the 90s today. That's a
That's
little too,
insane.
that's a little too
What
hot
the
for
heck?
me, but yeah. Let's see how Brandon's joining us early this morning. Good to see you,
I
buddy.
love it.
Yeah, I tell people I'm from Buffalo, not New York. Yeah, I have to clarify that all the time. All the
Yep.
time. So, Jake, I mean, before we get into the show, let's put some closing thoughts on that game of last week. And I'll let you start and let's move past that and get onto this game. But closing thoughts from last week, the Jaguars, huge upset. Talk to
Yeah.
me a little bit about that.
I think as our good friend Isaiah McKenzie puts it, it's the 24-hour rule. You remember what happened, you go back, you look at the film, and then you forget about it. Amnesia moving forward because now you're focused on a brand new team, a team that can actually put up some points. And, I think the Bills are going to come out. I think they're going to be prepared. They're going to be ready for this one. Because I'll tell you what, if that wasn't the biggest kick in the butt last week, I don't know what is. So it's time. It's time, Mike. It's
Yeah.
time to set the expectation, meet the expectation, and surpass it. I'm ready.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I had a stat. I shared this on our fantasy football show, which you joined us on this past week. And since 1990, there were 19 upsets where the spread was 14 or more. And this was the sixth biggest upset in history since 1990. And then I also shared with you that of the 19 games, Buffalo was involved in four of those upsets. Three of them on the wrong side, and the only one we were on the right side was back in 2019 when we upset the Vikings. So interesting facts there. But yeah, I don't know. I hope we don't. I hope you're right. This is the kick in the pants we needed. And I did look for something. I said, okay, let me look at a team that's won a Super Bowl and just got their butts whooped. And I didn't have to go back very far, Jake. I went back last year, and the Buccaneers, I don't know if it was week 11 or week 12, they played the Saints. Now, the Saints are a
I
good
was gonna
team,
say the Saints game,
but they
yeah.
got whooped 38-3. 38-3. Now, you're like, how can a Super Bowl team lose 38-3? They have bad games. It happens. And they went on to win a Super Bowl. So let's hope that we experience something similar there. Um, so yeah, for me, it's in the past. The only thing I'm going to say, Josh Allen, please, and I'm going to talk about him. He's one of my Josh. I need you to stay within yourself. Do not those three turnovers were huge. And like I told you, Jake, I didn't get to watch the first three quarters. I had to listen to it audio
You're
wise, and
so lucky.
I
You're
had
so
to.
lucky.
Well, when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh my God, those must be two of the worst passes I've ever seen him throw. I mean, they were. What was he thinking? So those type
Yeah.
of things. So let's avoid that and let's go. Let's move on. Jets, huge game. I mean, here we are. The Jets are what 2-6. We're 5-3. The Patriots are at 5-4, and then the Dolphins on Thursday night pull off a
What an
huge
upset.
upset. Huge
Yeah.
upset. I mean, the phrase any given Sunday, Jake, has never meant more than this year, to me at least. I can't remember. I mean, every week now, it's like you look at the scoreboard and you got two or three head scratchers up there. You're like, what is going on? Just when I think I understand who those good teams are, who the contenders are, who the pretenders are, it changes week by week.
It really does. The AFC has been the most inconsistent out of the two conferences for sure. But I'm telling you, Mike, I can't remember a season that was more lopsided and more up and down for an entire league. I mean, it's insane. I've never seen anything like it before. And guess what? I'm back on the bandwagon.
Oh
We're
boy.
back, baby. Last week, I'm telling you, I think part of this is my fault, and I'm going to take some of the blame. So last week I drank a Celsius instead of my normal blue.
that
Bills only put up 6 points. So maybe I'm going a little soft here. I think it's time to open a blue right now. So I'm going to do that. Don't mind me. And let's have a great show here.
Yeah, and I'm also bringing in a little bit of the Bills gear here today. I've been critiqued quite a bit by folks saying, Mike, you're not wearing enough Bills gear. My wife is saying, I'm going to work on your backdrop because Jake's backdrop just embarrassed me, which she saw our show for the first time last week. So we're going to start seeing some improvements here for sure. She's already, every day she's been coming in here, scouting out the background. She's like, all right, I'm going to change this. I'm like, do whatever you want to do, hon. I'm good with it. As long as it's
put in your order for those signs. So we'll see what happens with that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, let's get on to this week's show. And before we do, let me just put a couple things up there on the board. We had, obviously, last week on our pregame show, we had Tim and Matt here. They were the winners of the Josh Allen helmet. And I say the winners because Tim actually won, but Matt had done all the work and he gifted the helmet to Matt. And his kind act of service when he entered the contest says, if I win the contest, I'm going to give the helmet to Matt. Now, we didn't, FedEx was delayed last week, and unfortunately, we didn't have the helmet on that show, but Matt got it on Monday, sent these pictures. There he is. He said he was going to take some pictures wearing the helmet, and there it is. So he's actually going to be at the game as well this week. So I talked to him a little bit yesterday. Let's go, Matt. Bring home a win for us, man. We need all the support out there. We need all the support we can have. So appreciate you. And again, appreciate him giving us a shout out as well. So
I wonder if he wears it into the stadium today.
I was fearful of that. I'm like, man, please don't bring that beautiful helmet into that stadium. It may not come. You may not have that beautiful autograph on that helmet after the game if you wear it there. So let's see. Who else we got joining us in the channel? Zach, good to see you, Zach. Brady always seemed to lose in Miami. Yep. I don't know.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah.
Notorious for it.
So was Zach one of the guys who actually, who was at the house last week with you where they just had to leave? Usually they stay and they just had to get out of there.
So funny story about Zach. So I guess a similar situation. First game against the Steelers, he was over. And the last two times he's come over for a Bills game, the Bills have lost in disappointing fashion. The AFC Championship and then the Steelers opener. So he said, this is the last time I'm coming over for a Bills game. To be determined. I mean, maybe he comes over if we go to the Super Bowl or something, maybe. But we're actually going to be going to the Colts game next week together. And we seem to have better luck when we actually go to the games.
Okay.
I think our record's pretty good. The only game we've actually lost that we've seen in person together is the Monday Nighter from a few years back. And it was pretty cool. We got to play catch with Cordero Patterson. They were playing New England. And Derek Anderson was our starting quarterback that night. So it was cool, too. They honored Thurman at halftime, and they gave us all Thurman Thomas towels. That was pretty fun. But every game we've gone to in person has been good, but every game he's come over to watch has just been an absolute train wreck. So he will no longer be coming to our house to watch the games. The other two guys were Ian and Tim, who were both in the chat last week. Like I said, Ian went straight to the bar because he couldn't handle it anymore. The guy doesn't even drink. He's like, I'm going.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, okay. I mean, he drinks, but very sparingly.
Yeah.
And then Tim, I mean, everyone was just kind of sulking and just over it. So they up and got out of here. So pretty tough.
That's funny. All right, Zach. Well, I don't know where you're watching the game today, but good idea not to get together there with Jake for a while. And next week, is it just you two going to the game, or you got other folks joining you?
No, so it'll be me, him, my brother, and then Ian, the Z-Bell guy who's always in the chat here. So
nice.
That'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be a good time. Definitely plan on tailgating, and we'll have to figure out the pregame show for that one, Mike.
Yeah, we'll do it a couple days early, just like we did with the Dolphins when I was traveling to Buffalo. We'll do it a few days early, and then you'll take lots of cool pictures, and we'll share those pictures on our next show. All right, let's talk a little bit about this injury report here. Some interesting things here. Tremaine Edmunds out. Big injury right there. But I'm excited to see what all reports are saying. AJ Klein's going to get the start there. So I'm excited to see what AJ will bring to that middle linebacker. There's been a lot of critics and supporters of Tremaine Edmunds. I know you're a huge supporter. I know some of your friends when I was actually visiting there. I forget the gentleman that was at your office, but he was talking. He was not such a big fan of Tremaine Edmunds, and I've critiqued him as well. Great athlete, amazing size. We're going to be losing a lot of size and some speed, but the instincts, shooting hitting the wrong gaps. Just, I don't know. I always say he's making tackles 4 or 5 yards down the field. He was making big strides, but last couple games I watched, I rewatched those games, and it was kind of back to what I was seeing last year. Anyhow, let's see what AJ Klein brings. I'm kind of excited to see what happens there. We'll talk a little bit more AJ Klein a little bit later. Justin Zimmer on IR, unfortunately, for the rest of the year.
That hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I wish him a speedy recovery and hope everything goes well. Really love the way that guy plays. And then Jake Kumero's out on COVID. John Feliciano, as we know, still on IR. And then Mitch is still out on COVID. So this will probably be the last week we're without Mitch. So I think that brings up Davis Webb. It's going to be our
Davis
backup.
Webb. Yep, he'll be the guy. And then sidebar.
Yeah.
Big Ben, not going to be playing today.
I heard that as well.
He reported that he had some symptoms, and I guess he tested positive. So
yeah, crazy.
That'll be interesting.
This is the time of the year where people start getting sick with the weather changes and all those things. So, and every time someone gets sick, it seems to be COVID now. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if the common cold exists anymore, Jake.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. And Mike, I was saying back a while ago, I was on the McAfee bandwagon. I watched a lot of Pat McAfee show, and he kept saying, "I think we beat this thing," and I've been reiterating that nonstop. And lo and behold, we keep getting more and more cases. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm not a fan of this at all. You hate to see it, especially if you're betting on games and stuff. You get your bets locked in. Next thing you know, Big Ben's out. Not like he's the Big Ben of 3 years ago, but still, I mean, it's a big impact for the Steelers game. But anyways, Mitchell's still out, and Jake Kumero, special teams ace, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, with Mitch out, I mean, I keep like, all right, when's the Bills' turn? When's this going to hit? I mean, we could very easily have Josh Allen out on COVID, and now we'd have both our number 1 and number 2 QBs out. So scary thing. It's going to really be interesting over the next few months as the cold season rolls into town. Over on the Jets injury report, some big names here. Tevin Coleman, he's questionable. He's expected to play. Corey Davis coming back from injury. He is expected to play. That's a big one for them.
Big. Yeah.
Elijah Vera Tucker, he's questionable. Shaq Lawson, who we all remember drafted by the Bills, Rex Ryan years. You have any thought? I mean, since he was a Bills player, I'm going to stop right there. You have any thoughts on Shaq?
You know what's hilarious is he's the only player on the Jets that record an interception this season. They have 1 interception on the year, and it's Shaq Lawson. And it was actually a couple weeks ago when they played the Bengals.
The Bengals. Yeah, so that was the one game I wanted to get a kind of, check out the Jets. And I picked that game to rewatch. And yes, they were down by 11.
It's a huge interception.
Yeah, they were down by 11 with 7 minutes to go. And they scored. And then the next possession, Shaq made that interception deep in the Bengals zone. Deep in the Bengals zone. So that was a huge play. Turned the game around, and cool thing, interesting. He's been around though, right? He's been ever since he left the Bills. He's been went to Miami. Went to Miami. That was a short stint, wasn't it? And then
it was short. Went to Houston, and then he went to New York.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And Zack Wilson, doubtful. Now the interesting thing here, and I talk about it a little bit later. There's a quarterback controversy brewing here. I mean, Zack Wilson was a full participant in Friday. How many times have you had your starter be a full participant and be doubtful? I think they're just like, look, Mike White's got the hot hand, and I think they're going to continue to ride the hot hand.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's a different circumstance too. He's a rookie quarterback, but you definitely want to see more out of him. I mean, you're seeing what Mac Jones is doing. You're seeing what a few of these other guys are doing. I mean, they're still getting in the games. Justin Fields has had his struggles as well, but for them not to play him, I mean, they feel like they maybe can make a run with Mike White or Josh Johnson or whoever, Joe Flacco. Who knows who's playing quarterback for New York now? But it looks like Mike White obviously is going to be the starter today. But everyone seems to have played better than Zack Wilson. I believe Mike White actually already has thrown more touchdowns than him in 2 games, and Zack Wilson has thrown in 6 games. So if that speaks volumes about anything, I don't know what does.
That is crazy. It's crazy. Like you said, any quarterback but Zach. But he, and they've asked him. I read something where like, "Are you worried about losing your job?" He says, "No, I'm a rookie. I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to learn." So, but he obviously wants to get back to that starting spot. But I think, like you said, the Jets I mean, they're not out of it. They're not out of it.
Yeah, they're not.
This is a huge game, and they're gonna ride the hot hand. So, Chuma Adaga, hopefully I said his name. He's on IR. Denzel Mims, kind of a big one here. He's on COVID as well, and he's a big 6'3", strong receiver. They're gonna miss him today. I mean,
I think Jets fans are upset with Denzel Mims and what's gone on with all that. I mean, you expect so he was projected even a first round pick when he was coming out of college, and I was even hoping maybe the Bills would take a shot on him. And it just hasn't been. I mean, obviously, you need a quarterback to throw you the football
yeah,
too. So there's been a lot involved with all of that, but yeah, it's just been very disappointing because you think maybe he could be a big play threat, and 6'3", he's got a great size, big wingspan.
yep.
But yeah, he just hasn't been on the field to be able to produce for them. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, the Jets really, I mean, I was looking at their team. They've got a lot of good pieces, especially at the skilled position. So this is going to be a difficult game for sure.
Yeah,
Let's see. Jason Pinnock, the cornerback, is also on COVID. And this was a big loss here for them. Their starting safety,
huge.
Marcus May, he's out IR. I think it was a year, season-ending injury, I
Yeah,
believe.
torn
Yep.
Achilles.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
huge.
bad. I mean, that's a tough injury.
Yeah, and then their tight end Tyler Croft is also on
Former
IR.
Bill.
Exactly. We got Antonio. Good to see you out there, Antonio, saying never thought that going into this game I'd be nervous. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jake and I are right there with you. Every game now, we're just taking one game at a time, and they're so important. We were just saying a little earlier, Antonio, we lose this game, and the Jets and the Dolphins are 2 games back. We're tied with the Pats. I mean, the world's turning upside down here. So crazy, crazy stuff. Let me talk a little bit about the weather. So we talked about the weather in Buffalo. We talked about the weather out here on the West Coast, and we got somewhere in the middle. We got 50 degrees roughly at game time, partly sunny, and just a slight wind out of the west, 8 miles per hour. So should be a good day for football.
Beautiful.
It's perfect
Yep.
weather. So let's move on to a little bit about the Jets info. It's the first time we're seeing them. I like to, whenever we see a team for the first time or even the second time, I like to talk about some of the changes, some of the things that are new to them from last year. So they have a new coach. And talk to me a little bit about Robert Saleh, Jake.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about him?
So he started his career at Michigan State, and he's kind of worked his way up the ranks as a quality control coach. Then he became a defensive coordinator. And the last 4 seasons, he's been with the 49ers as their D coordinator. And obviously, they made a nice run. They made it to the Super Bowl, and their defense was pretty stout. They were really good. Last year was kind of a down year for them, but they had so many injuries, so you can't really credit him for all that. But yeah, defensive minded coach. He's young. He's only 42 years old, and just some other notable guys on his staff. I was looking at it, because I don't know a whole lot about the Jets coaching staff, honestly. So I was just looking through it, and their defensive coordinator is Jeff Ulbrich, who Mike, you probably don't know who the hell he is, but I do. He played with the Niners back in the day. He was a linebacker for them, and you always know you're getting older when you see players that you grew up watching becoming coaches. So I've seen that with Mike Vrabel. I've seen it with a bunch of guys now, and it's just crazy to see how many of these guys are now becoming coaches in the NFL. So Jeff Ulbrich is the D coordinator. They got Mike LaFleur, who's Matt LaFleur's brother, as their OC, and then their safeties coach is oh my gosh, Marquand Manuel. So he was a safety who played when I was growing up too. So it's interesting to look at his staff. But going back to Robert Saleh alone, he's got a lot of fight in him, and I think he sees the potential in his guys. He's got a good young team around him,
Yep.
and honestly, like even looking at their offense, their receiving core is not bad. They have a lot of good young players with the receiving core. They have 2 pretty good running backs, and they still have Tevin Coleman, who I'm not sure if he's going to play or not today. I think he was questionable. But the Jets are close. They're so confusing though too. At the same time, they have 2 wins this season, and it's against the Bengals and the Titans. So 2 teams that you would not expect them to win games against. They somehow managed to get a victory. One of those being with Zack Wilson too. So it's just so weird. You don't know what type of team you're going to get. They put 30 up on the Colts last week. Yeah, it's very strange how they've gone about with their whole season, really. I mean, some weeks they look just totally dead in the water. Other weeks they look like they're back. So I think they're close. I think they got to put everything together, and hopefully it's not today because I don't want to see that happen. I mean, that would just be so depressing. But Robert Saleh, I think, has done a pretty nice job. Kind of just weathering the storm and dealing with what he's been dealt. And he's got some good young players. He's got some
Yep.
good young talent. Defensively, he's got Quinn Williams, C.J. Mosley, Marcus May, who unfortunately is injured. Corners definitely need a lot of help, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But should be an intriguing matchup today.
Yeah, and then there's safeties like we talked about, taking a big hit there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched a little clip on this guy because I didn't really know much about Robert Saleh,
A lot of fire.
other than he was the
A lot of
defensive
passion.
coordinator for the Niners the last 3 years, and he took them from one of the worst defensive teams to one of the best defensive teams. And I think even last year they were top 5, and obviously
Yeah.
he was a hot candidate for a head coaching job, and he took this job. And he's got a lot of fire on him, but man, when you hear him speak, he's just a great communicator. So being a young guy, being so fired up, I'm sure he has the respect of his team. And when you said the fact that he's defensive minded, scares the heck out of me for this game.
Yeah.
Right? But it's interesting. I'm gonna share some stats with you, but these stats aren't gonna mean anything because these we talked. It looked very similar to the Jaguar stats, but we'll get there in a second here. So some more information. Zack Wilson, number 2 overall pick this year, not playing due to sprain PCL, suffered last month. Now he was a full participant in Friday's practice, but he's doubtful, so we're not going to see him at all. But
So let me just real quick. I'm going
ahead.
to stop you for a second.
Sure.
So Friday's practice is typically a walkthrough practice. So that doesn't mean a whole lot. It's a walkthrough. So it's not like it's full contact or full pads or anything like that. So there is some context behind that. While he was a full participant, I mean, it's good to see for sure. But and it is interesting because a lot of times when you have a guy go late in the week, that typically means that he's going to play in the game
Yeah.
coming up. But it is typically a walkthrough practice. So there is that to be said about it.
Gotcha. And I don't really see doubtful tag much anymore these
Yeah.
days. It's either questionable or you're out. So the
Game time
doubtful is
decision,
a
questionable.
little
Yeah.
interesting for sure. So thanks for that clarification. Elijah Moore, drafted 2nd round this year, has been coming on since switch to Mike White. He's had 13 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So now you got Corey Davis coming back. I mean, they, like you said, they've got some really nice pieces on offense and defense. Mike White, 5th round pick of the Cowboys in 2018, and he'll start, and he's looked good. And I just having their little quarterback controversy brewing. We talked about that at the top of the show, but tell me a little bit about Mike White. Who's this guy?
So he was a 5th round pick by the Cowboys. This is back in 2018. He played for Western Kentucky, and he was the highest drafted quarterback out of Western Kentucky since Brandon Doughty, who he actually surpassed. So he was with the Cowboys. He ended up getting cut, and the Jets picked him up, signed him to their practice squad, and then he was finally activated. And it's crazy. You hear the name Mike White, and you think, "What is this a fake player? Like, is this for real? Is this a real name?" He looks like, and I love Mike White, so I'm not trying to put him down or anything like that. But I do think it's funny because he looks like the default player that you go into when you create a player on Madden. So he looks like just your default guy. I mean, nothing fancy about him, nothing to him. And his name's Mike White. But the guy has been electric. Every time he's been every time he's been on the field, he's commanded the offense extremely well. He's put up some nice numbers. Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot going for him. I think he has a legitimate chance to play in this league, and he's shown that the past 2 weeks. So, and he even went out with an injury last week. So glad to see that he's okay. And I think maybe today, we can get after him a little bit, getting his head a touch. He's still a young quarterback, so we'll see what happens.
I remember, I don't know where I read some article yesterday that, he was upset and he's like, I should have been a 1st round pick. Of course, every player
He's got the
probably thinks
confidence.
that, but yeah, he's definitely got a lot of confidence, and he's been putting up some big numbers since he even last week before he went out. He was off to a killer start. Between the 2 quarterbacks, they threw for 400 yards between the 2 last week against a very good Indy defense.
Right.
And then the week before, he threw for over 400 by himself. So crazy stuff. He did have a couple picks in that Cincinnati game, and there were some, and he does do a lot of checkdowns. So
Michael Carter.
Oh yeah,
had like 14 targets that game. So
yeah. So there's some of my impact players. So we'll get there as well. But so talking a little bit about the defense, I mean, Robert Saleh, defensive minded, but you look at the stats and they're dead last in yards per game allowed, 408 yards per game, dead last in points per game given up, 31.4. 29th in passing yards per game, 274. 27th against the rush, 133 yards per game. And they got 18 sacks on the year, which is what Buffalo has. So what does that really mean? Nothing. Because we know they're dead last in defense. But all these defenses, I don't care who they are, Jacksonville, Steelers, they seem to have a script. Like I said last week, they have the book, and we need to make some adjustments. Otherwise, the same thing is going to keep happening. Josh is going to get pressured constantly. And so hopefully the Bills make some big adjustments. But it's crazy. Last 2 weeks, last week and this week, we're playing defensive teams that are near the bottom, and we scored 9 points last week. So who knows? I'm super worried. I'm with you, Antonio. Big Al out there jumping in. Mike White will be facing an angry defense today. This will be a true wake-up call for White when he gets sacked 4 times today.
Me and my dad talk up the Bills so much, and they always disappoint. This has been the story of the whole year. So I hope it happens, but I don't know. I am a little nervous myself, Antonio. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I'll say this. So the Jets are giving up 31.4 points per game, whereas Buffalo's giving up 14.8 points per game. Big difference. But after what we saw last week, like I said, and especially since it's an interdivision game, we know interdivision games are always tough. Always tough. I don't care what the records are. Throw the records out the window. They see each other twice a year. There's a rivalry, all those teams interdivision, so it's going to be tough. On the offensive side of the ball, the 24th overall total yards per game is 328. So again, near the bottom in offense and defense, doesn't mean anything.
Really doesn't.
Is there anything else I'm missing about the Jets that you want to
I think the only thing I could say is, and I'm not sure who coined this term, who started this quote off, but every week you start 0-0. So like you said, Mike, throw everything out of the window. Every Sunday is any given Sunday. So do not take this for granted. The Bills got to come out sharp. And you know what's hilarious? We're looking at stats and stuff. They're 27th in rushing and stuff like that, rushing yards allowed. And Devin Singletary is one of the top stardoms for fantasy this week, which I find hilarious. Yeah.
Who's throwing that out
we
there?
know what it was on NFL Network, I believe it was.
Wow.
So it was on their stardom list. And it's like Devin Singletary was listed as the number 5 back or something for stardom picks of the week. Insane.
Wow. Before I get into our key matchups, I do want to remind everyone, drop a nickel on that subscribe button for us. Give us a like, give us a share, put a comment out there. And I want to put this out there because I always forget. I always say it at the end and everyone forgets to do it. Put your prediction of the score. Okay, for a $50 Amazon gift card. We're going to do something a little different. I've been kind of teasing about it a little bit. So it's obviously super hard to hit a winner, right? But I want you to tell me who the winner is and what the score prediction is. And if you're within, I'm going to take the closest this week. Somebody's going to win a gift certificate, Jake. We're going big. So whoever's the closest, you're going to be the winner. So put that in the comments. You have up until kickoff to throw that out there, and let's see if we can get I already said we're going to have a winner this week. So let's see who that's going to be. So put those score predictions in the channel. All right. So I think we're good on the Jets. Pretty much covered everything we want to cover. Jake, you're good? I
think so. Okay. Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's get into some key matchups for the game this week. So your key matchups, which is, oh my God, the Bills O-line took a beating from social media all week. Bills O-line versus the Jets D-line. And yeah, it doesn't matter, like I said, whether it's the Steelers or the Jaguars or the Jets, that O-line seems to be getting beat by everybody. So talk to me about your key matchup there.
Well, what's great is it looks like Spencer Brown is going to play today. So I think we're going to go back to what our rotation was before he got injured. Obviously, John Feliciano is going to be out, so we'll probably put Ike Bucker on the other side there. But we'll kick Darrell Williams back inside. He'll play right guard, and then Spencer Brown will be our right tackle. As far as the Jets' defensive line goes, I am a little worried. Quinn Williams has been playing phenomenal football this year. He's got 4.5 sacks on the season, leads the team in sacks. and he's a very good young player. In addition to him, Shaq Lawson, actually not playing bad this year either. He's been pretty solid, and it's kind of like a revenge game for him. So, like I said, he has the only interception on that defense, which is hilarious. So you got to be worried about him. He's definitely a good football player. He can take advantage of our tackles pretty easily. So, yeah, we need better. We need better play out of our tackles. We need better play out of our entire offensive line across the board. But I'll specifically be watching those matchups between Quinn Williams and Shaq Lawson. And then you also have a rotational guy, Sheldon Rankins, who's pretty solid, and a couple other players on that D line. I'm trying to think. The one name is insane. I actually wrote it down because I don't even know how to technically pronounce this. My gosh. I had it here. Never mind. I didn't write it down. I thought I did. Oh, yes. Folorunsu Fatukasi.
Oh my goodness.
Insane name. And then they have John Franklin Myers, who's been pretty solid this year, too. I think he's second on the team in sacks. So he's a defensive end for them. He's a pretty good football player, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, intriguing matchup for sure. We got to play better up front. No doubt about it.
Quinn Williams was a third overall draft pick in 2019. So, yes, scary to have him. I've seen him. I watched him recently. He just is a playmaker. So I love that pick, or I love that you talked about him. And I think you have him
and
as
his brother
an impact
as a
player as
linebacker
well.
for them, Quincy Williams. And
Seriously,
he's been playing pretty good.
Wow, your dad. Before I go over to your other one here, your dad's calling me out again. So, Mike, you need to get some Bills items for your background on the Bills website. You have an auction on Bills signed items. We talked about that, Big L, early. My wife saw the show last week. She's embarrassed about my backdrop. She saw Jake's backdrop. She came in. She's doing measurements. She's going to be taking care of me. And also, Jake, when I was out there, who's the guy who's making those signs?
That's Ray. Shout out to Ray.
Shout out to Ray.
Gallardo.
So,
guy's unbelievable.
I've got three signs ordered? I got the Buffalo Braves, Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo Bills. We're going to be all Buffalo back here. And did I throw in the Ravens for my son?
I put in a Ravens one for it, too.
Right,
I said, get back to me on that one, whether you can do it or not. I haven't heard from him yet, but...
Okay. So Big Al, it's coming, man. It's coming. And then he says, we are lucky Cody Ford isn't starting. Your thoughts on that, Jake?
I 100% agree. We really have tried with him, and we've given him plenty of opportunities. I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to move on from Cody Ford. So I'm very happy that we're kind of back to our previous rotation. Obviously missing John Feliciano, but Ike Bucker can get it done. He got bullied a little bit last week, but he's a good football player. I think he'll rebound and we'll be all right.
It's also interesting to me. I mean, you mentioned Spencer Brown, and I have him mentioned here in the next one or two slides. But it's funny that everyone's like, man, we need Spencer Brown back. We need him back. This guy's a rookie, and he's really only started, 2 games, 3 games at the most.
He was supposed to be a project.
Right,
at
right,
best,
exactly. And here he is now. We're like, we need him. And I agree to some extent, because like you and I talked about, he's got a chip on his shoulder, man. This dude is out there, and he's not someone you want to mess with. I think he actually ups our run game. I mean, obviously, when you're, to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the X and O guy in this show, but for any lineman, I believe it's much easier to run block, and I could be wrong, than pass protect. And I think when you're a big guy like that, just pushing people out of the way helps the run game. Am I wrong?
Be a mauler.
Right. And the game before, I think, or a couple games, he was beat on a big play. And what was the game? It was the Tennessee game, I think, or maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, so here we are now thinking, oh, we need Spencer Brown back. And I agree. I think he's a big part, and I want him to continue to get that experience. So come, hopefully, playoff time, if we make playoffs, but I'm not going to go that far, but get that experience. And let's just keep getting him more familiar and really working on that pass protection. But let's see, Big Al, we need to go heavy in the upcoming draft on offensive linemen. Yeah, it's just crazy to me, because I really thought we were in a good spot with offensive linemen coming, and we had everyone pretty much returning from last year. We added some guys like Spencer Brown, and let's see, who else did we add on that draft? What's the
Tommy
other
Doyle
Tommy
out of Miami,
Doyle.
Ohio, and then Jack Anderson, who's actually no longer with us. He got picked up because he was a practice squatter. But yeah,
So I thought we were
Late
in,
round picks, but yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we added to it, and you already thought our offensive line was pretty solid as it was. So
I really did. And here we are talking about
yeah.
needing an offensive lineman. But that's been the story of this year. All right, let's get over to your other key matchup. Jets receiver versus the Bills secondary.
So I've heard all week everyone's talking about the Bills receivers taking advantage of the Jets secondary. Well, I don't want to overlook the Jets receivers either. They have some very good young receivers playing for them right now. Elijah Moore has really come up the last 2 weeks. He's been putting up some crazy numbers. He's got a really good future in this league. Jamison Crowder always kills the Bills. So he's going to be targeted, I think, a lot too. And then you got Corey Davis coming back. You have Keelan Cole as well, who can make some phenomenal catches. I mean, the guy's proven himself to make some very clutch catches over the last few seasons, really, even with Jacksonville going back to a few years ago. And Braxton Berrios too. So, and Denzel Mims is out, and when he's healthy, I mean, they got a good list of receivers on that team. So we're going to be tested a little bit today. Luckily, we do have Taron Johnson coming back from injury. Thank God. I'm very happy about that.
Yep.
And Trey White seems to be okay as well. So Levi, I think Levi Wallace has always been the most the outlier. He's always been kind of like inconsistent. He's always gotten beat up a little bit. And maybe I'm getting on him a little too much because I don't think he's a bad player. I just think the inconsistencies hurt a little bit. So our corners, our secondary in general is going to be tested a little bit by these Jets receivers today. And actually, we're lucky they don't have Tyler Kroft going because they like to use double tight end set a lot with him and Ryan Griffin. And Ryan Griffin, I think he scored a couple times against the Bills in the past too. Even last season, he scored against us a few times. So it'll be a good matchup. I think it's going to be a battle. I'm hoping we get the upper end of that battle. We end up winning, but it's going to be a test for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, Levi Wallace, look, I feel he's been playing pretty well this year. And if you're the guy opposite of Trey White, you're the guy opposite of
you're going to get targeted.
Any shutdown corner, you're going to be the guy that they're throwing the ball against, and you're going to win some and lose some, and hopefully you win more than you lose. And he's done a pretty good job. So, and no one's been able to beat him out. No one's been able to beat. Every year you hear his job's up for grabs, and no one's been able to take that from him. So let's go, Levi. I'm calling a big game from Levi now that you said that. Levi going to have a pick today. All right, so I totally agree with you. The Jets receivers, we already said that earlier on. I mean, they have a lot of good skilled players, especially on offense. You mentioned all the guys and their running backs as well.
Yeah, don't forget their running backs.
Don't forget their running backs, and I talk about them in a little bit because there's some of my impact players, so I won't spoil that. Let's move on to my impact players for the game. Now, you might be wondering, Mike, is that a typo? I used this last week, Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. Right? But no, it means something a little different this week. Josh Allen versus himself. Josh, stay within yourself. Do not make those critical turnovers. And if you don't make those critical turnovers, regardless of how bad the O-line was doing, we might have had a better chance to win that game. I'm not saying we would have won it, but those were ugly passes. Stop doing that. Take the loss. Take the sack once in a while. Do not throw that ball up. And then hold on to the ball.
Yes.
Josh is getting known to be a fumbler, and teams are starting to, if they get some bodies on them, they're starting to try to strip that ball. So hold on to it. So this is really Josh against himself. Come on, Josh, stay calm, stay cool. You are, people have been talking about he's an MVP candidate. Well, let me tell you something. MVP candidates don't have the ball in their hand twice to win a game late in the game, and they don't come through. They come through if you're an MVP candidate, right? That game against Tennessee, the slip, and then he had the ball last week, and he didn't come through. Now, I love Josh Allen. We just gave his helmet away, but I'm saying if you're going to talk MVP, he needs to start taking those. It's what every team obviously you want blowouts, but if you're in any game and you have the ball last, you have a chance to win with your franchise quarterback, needs to get it done. So Josh versus himself here. And then the Jets running backs against the Bills linebackers. I was talking to you a little bit about this yesterday, and the game I watched against Cincinnati, between the two running backs, they had 20 targets, something crazy like that. And I think you're going to see a lot of that today. So Klein and Milano And I think you said sometimes the nickel corners will offer
They'll
support
come up the
for watching
safety
this.
or
So they're going to have their hands full. The Jets get their running backs involved, whether it's running the ball or whether it's dumping off to them. They're going to have their hands full. And I'm interested to see, again, what Klein can do. And obviously, we know Milano's a pretty good cover linebacker. We'll see. And talk to me a little bit about Klein. Now let's wait. I'm going to ask you a question when you get to my impact player, because I have him as an impact player this week.
Oh, nice. I like it.
So any thoughts on what I talked about there, Jake?
Yeah. So first off, you hit the nail right on the head when you said it was Josh Allen versus himself. Too often he plays hero ball and he has to make a play, and it's not all on him. I think a lot of it is due to him having a lot of pressure with their offensive line, not giving him a lot of time, and him having to roll out. I would like to see a lot of designed rollouts this game to get him comfortable, because he does pretty well throwing on the run, and when it's designed like that, he typically hits his receiver in stride. So definitely an opportunity there. But yeah, 100%. I mean, we need to see the MVP Josh Allen that we were anticipating this whole year. So great opportunity in front of him, no doubt about it. And then going to the Jets running backs versus Bills linebackers. Yeah, I said it on our fantasy show, Mike. This might be the best 1-2 punch the Jets have had at running back since LT and Sean Green back in the day. So very, very interesting setup that they have with Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, then even Tevin Coleman when he gets in. If he plays today, I think he's questionable.
He's expected to play, what I read.
Is he? Okay.
He's expected, as well as Corey Davis is expected to play.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have good running backs. Michael Carter looks great. He can catch the football. He was targeted, I think it was 14 times against the Bengals, and he caught 12.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, they like to throw it down. They like to check it down to those guys all the time. They spread them out even. I think they even get in the slot a little bit. So, yeah, and Ty Johnson, he's a big playmaker. He is. And what's crazy is you can even maybe go and start 2 Jets running backs right now in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Agree. I want to get back to the channel here because a couple good points. Antonio says, I feel like we could bring in a free agent to help with the O-line. So that's a great point, Antonio. After the trade deadline, I was like, where do you go get somebody if you want them? Well, there's people that are out there that might have just recently retired. You can also scour the practice squads, right?
Yeah.
Somebody took one from us earlier. Was it Jack Anderson you were saying?
Jack Anderson, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody took one from us. Look at those practice squads and bring someone over, potentially. And then maybe a recently retired person that's out there or someone who just hasn't signed. They're areas of opportunity, but I didn't hear anything. And I want to give credit to that. I watched another show, one of the Buffalo shows, who were talking about that. I'm like, oh my God, that is a possibility. And they were like, if we don't have a lot of people coming in this week to give a, what do you want to call it, to check them out and see if they could make the squad, they'd be shocked. And I didn't hear any of that going on this week. I don't know if you did.
I didn't either. Yeah,
but that's a great point, Antonio. And then let's see here. Big Al saying we need to go heavy in the upcoming draft on offensive line. Yep, totally agree. And then Brennan Lisi. First time I've seen Brennan out there. I don't know if you know Brennan, but thanks for joining the channel there. He has a great question.
Brennan, are you from Amherst? Were you in the one fantasy chat? I can't remember. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was someone else. I can't remember.
He says,
exactly,
what do you guys think about the idea of Matt Breida being activated? We said this last week that we wanted to see a change. Now, I did hear Moss cleared protocol, so the two of them, Singletary and Moss, are eligible to play.
Right.
Do you think they make Breida?
I think they should. I haven't heard on whether or not he's officially activated or not. But yeah, I mean, if we want to run the football, if we want to be effective, I think with the type of plays that we're trying to run, Matt Breida fits the scheme a little bit better. And we've only played him against the Steelers this year. I don't understand why he hasn't been in our lineup. Like I said, he offers the same value that TJ Yeldon offered you, but with a ton more speed.
Yeah.
The guy can catch the football out of the backfield. You can put him in the slot. He can run routes. Like, there's so many things you can do with him. And for us not to give him a chance, I don't get it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for joining the channel.
First time. My fault, man.
Love it.
Welcome.
And then we got Josh out there. Josh Debbie. He's been a Moss fan. This is my good friend from many, many years ago. Young kid. I still call him a young kid because he is. I call him the football whisperer. He's always in my ear talking about who's going to win each week, and he's usually right. But he's a big Moss fan, and he knows that I love Singletary. So here he is. Go Moss. Activate Breida. Singletary can't find the holes. I think both of them can't find the holes. So that's why we're saying let's get Breida in there.
Well, there's no holes to find anyway, Blake, so that's the problem.
That's a good point. We need a back who can kind of create their own holes, right?
Right. You can run outside zone with Matt Breida, too. Yeah. We've tried doing that with our backs, and unfortunately, they're just not quick enough to get to the outside.
And Breida brings that speed. So I'm hoping. I don't know if anyone's seen let's see. We're close enough. 8 o'clock. We're 2 hours away now. I think they put the who they activate. And
usually around 11.
Yeah. So I think we're a little early still. But it'll be interesting. We did say that last week. We want to see a change it up, and let's get Breida in there. So we'll see if that holds true.
Uh-oh. You see what my dad just said there?
Oh, no.
Star just got put on the COVID list.
Oh, no. That
hurts.
Big. That's big.
That's huge.
Especially on that running game. So now without your starting middle linebacker, now without Star, big news right there. Big breaking news. Gosh. Oh, gosh. I've been a big Star. I've been throwing out his name all year, and he's going to be a big loss this week for sure.
That hurts. That definitely hurts.
And I wonder if there's anyone else. Usually when there's one, there's more, right? Usually because they've been hanging out with somebody.
Right.
And we'll see. That's just crazy to me that just broke this morning.
That's
all right.
Killer.
Well, let's get into the impact players to watch for both teams. Let's go over yours first. Buffalo Bills, you got Josh Allen, Dawson Knox, and yes, Dawson Knox is back.
Yes.
And Micah Hyde. Baby. So talk about your impact players, Jake.
Well, I was kind of going to just go off of what you were saying, Mike. It's Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. So he needs to come out. He needs to play a good football game here just to, first off, silence all the haters. Second off, show us that he's that MVP candidate. I think it's time. I mean, he has a great opportunity against the Jets. I think we take a couple deep shots. We need to triple Stephon Diggs' targets. I don't care. Yeah. Just throw him the football. We could take full advantage of these corners for the Jets. They have Bryce Hall and then their other guy, Brandon Nichols, who's a rookie corner. So please, I'm begging the Bills to throw all over these guys. Marcus May's out. I mean, Ashton Davis, he's a very good athletic safety. Don't get me wrong. Kid played at Cal. He was a third-round pick for the Jets. He's had a couple. I think he actually got hurt last year. He had a season-ending injury, but we need to take advantage of the secondary. Josh has an awesome opportunity to just throw all over these guys. We could potentially even have 3 100-yard receivers if we do it right. Please, I am begging to the football gods that this is the day that we just unleash the passing game, because this is as good of an opportunity as ever right now. So we need this, Mike. We definitely need this. Secondly, Dawson Knox, he's back. That's huge. I think that's going to help Josh a lot too, because when you have a tight end who's that athletic, who can stretch the field, that's an amazing thing to have. Not a lot of teams have that, and when you do, that just brings such a different dynamic to the game. Also, I think Dawson's pretty underrated as a blocker too. He doesn't get a lot of credit for how well he does block. So just really, really good to have him back, and I think he's going to have a big day today. And then thirdly, we have Micah Hyde, my guy. Every week, I'm repping his jersey. Guy's played lights out football this whole season, so I expect him to have a monster day. We can take advantage of Mike White. We can take advantage of that Jets offense a little bit. I think Micah Hyde's going to come up in a big way today.
Yeah. So real quick on that, on your points there, Josh Allen. We said it last week. Throw the ball deep. Throw the ball deep. Take a few shots. They didn't do that at all last week, which is just incredible when you talk about the receivers that we have. Take those shots downfield. Stretch that defense a little bit. And here's the other funny thing is Dawson Knox. So I'm hearing we need Spencer Brown and we need Dawson Knox. That was not something people were saying coming into the year, right? People are ready to kind of write off Dawson Knox. Like, this guy needs to go. We need to find people are talking about we should have drafted a tight end. And here we are now, Dawson Knox, one of the key guys we need, and Spencer Brown, a rookie who we drafted, one of the key guys. It's funny to me to hear these things because it wasn't something you would have been saying earlier in the year. And Micah Hyde, we all know how good, like you say, every week, these are the best tandem safeties in the league, and couldn't agree with you more. Both him and Poyer just killing it this year. And let's see, did they did the streak end last week? I think it did, right? We didn't have
Yeah,
the
it
pick.
did.
The
No
streak
safety
ended.
with a pick.
Let's
Oh,
let's see if they can start that again. All right, let's
yeah.
let's get over to your New York Jets impact players.
Yep. So Elijah Moore, I talked a little bit about him. He's had a phenomenal 2 weeks, 13 for 154 and 2 touchdowns, I believe it was, over the last two weeks. So
Yeah,
he's been lights out. He's been kind of turning into everything they hoped he would, which is great news for the Jets. Bad news for us because he's going to be tough to cover. CJ Mosley, I think he's officially back. He missed all of last season because he opted out due to COVID, and then the year before he had a torn ACL, which I think he suffered against the Bills, if I'm correct there. So he's got 65 tackles this year in 7 games. He's done a fantastic job for the Jets there. He's just a natural born leader. He's still relatively young. I think he's 29 years old. But obviously, a proven player, a Pro Bowl player, an all-pro linebacker. So definitely a key piece to that defense. One of the few key pieces left on that defense. They're a little banged up right now. So expect a huge game out of him. And the other guy who I already mentioned, Quinn Williams, playing phenomenal football. Going to be a test for our offensive line right in the interior there. I mean, he's got 4.5 sacks this year. Yeah, good luck blocking that guy. I hope we can do it, but he is a hell of a football player.
who do they got coming off the edge? They got Shaq Lawson. Who's the other guy they got coming off
Shaq
the edge?
and then John Franklin Myers, I
Okay,
believe, is the other guy. Yep.
okay, those
And
edge guys.
I think he's second on the team in sacks.
Yes, those edge guys have been really killing us as of late, and then obviously the interior struggled last
Yeah.
week as well. So
No more Henry Anderson. No more scumbag plays by Henry Anderson. Number 96. He used to get into it a little bit with their offensive line.
So let's see here. Brendon saying, did you guys see Knox's hand? That thing is swollen. No, I'm not watching the pregame, or I don't know where you saw that. But and then what does Josh say? He got an injection. So I'm hoping he still plays. I mean, kind of scaring me there saying that hand is swollen.
Well, I think, yeah. So like Josh was saying, I think so. He got an injection and it looks swollen, but as long as he can go, man,
Yeah,
that's all right. I'll take a Dawson Knox with one bad hand over. I like Tommy Sweeney. Don't get me wrong, but I think the threat that Dawson Knox presents is higher than Tommy Sweeney, even if he's just on the field as a decoy. I mean, there's definitely more big play opportunity there.
right. I agree. And then your dad says defensive tackle Brandon Bryant just got activated from the
Yep.
practice squad.
Yeah, so that's who Josh was mentioning because I'm like, Bryant, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he meaning Harrison Bryant, the tight end? And I'm like, no, Brandon Bryant. That's right. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. It looks like he's probably going to have to play a lot today just because of Star being out. So should be fun.
I don't know much about him. What can you tell me about Brandon
I
Bryant?
don't have. I know he's been with us a little bit. I believe it's been the last. Maybe it was last year he came to us. Let me see exactly. I want to say he's been with us because he was with. I think he was with Devin Singletary at Florida Atlantic. I know that. Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit. So last season he signed with us. Yeah, and he's been on practice squads and whatnot. He was actually with the Jets. He was with the Seahawks. He was in the CFL a little bit. That's right. Yep. And he's kind of bigger. He's been more of a 3-4 defensive end, and he's sort of converted. He's played inside a little bit more over the last few seasons. But yeah, huge test for him. Undrafted player out of Florida Atlantic. He played with Devin Singletary, like I said. So yeah, I mean, next man up, I guess. Right?
Next man up. So before I go into my impact players, and before I forget, I wanted to bring this up. I want to ask you a question. So last week we kind of talked about you wanted them to spread it out. You wanted them to go put the 10 personnel. I was saying, well, with the poor blocking, I don't see how they can go to 10 personnel. I think I did, after rewatching the game, I did see they were using a lot of they were using a lot of 11 personnel where they had one running back, one tight end, and that tight end was in the backfield, right? But what I was seeing on those plays, instead of blocking, they were usually just going out for a pass.
Exactly.
I see a lot of that. So what are you doing this week to get Josh more time?
I think you go in shotgun, and I think you got to throw a lot of quick passes. I think that's key. Get a lot of quick underneath passes, get Josh in a rhythm, first off. Second off, when you're throwing quick passes like that, you're less likely to see as many blitzes. So I think that's the recipe. You start with some quick passes, and then you can maybe take a shot. So, and I feel like I'm a broken record. I've said this every week. You got to get the ball to Cole Beasley underneath early. Get him started early. I mean, that's It's such a good drive starter for us, and it's better than running the football. It's such a better alternative because every time we run the football, whether it's up the middle, to the right, to the left, whatever, it's like a loss of a down essentially. So I don't care if we have to abandon the run altogether today. Unless we activate Matt Breida, I don't even want to see our running backs involved at all unless it's blitz pickup. That's it. Seriously.
And
I'm over it.
feed the ball to Diggs.
Feed
Feed
it.
the ball
Feed it
to
to
your
him.
best receiver. Come on.
Yes. And
We-
my cousin made a good point. So my cousin does pregame and postgame show for the Bills, and
okay.
he had mentioned that that is not our identity as a football team. We are not a tough physical team. That's just not who we are. We're a finesse team, and I couldn't agree more with what he said. I mean, we have some good, flashy football players. Let's use them. Let's use them to their advantage. Stephon Diggs, I did read a thing, and it was like he had 79 targets last season at this point, and this year he's got 73. But it's the quality of targets that they are. You're not seeing the deep throws. You're not seeing the quick slants. You're not seeing a whole lot of that. So we need more of that. We need to triple his targets. Like I said, I don't care if he's not open. The guy can win contested battles. He can catch the football in traffic, and he can get you yards after the catch. So just throw it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 50-50 chance as far as I'm concerned, and especially against these corners. We have a rookie corner and then another corner who's not super experienced. Bryce Hall's been okay, but he's still young. He's only a 2-year pro, I think. So we have the clear advantage here.
I agree with what Brendon's saying there. He's just so sick of forcing them to run, and you and I have said that last week, and I think a lot of folks have been saying that. So sick of forcing the run on first and second, and you're just saying that abandon that run. We're not a running team,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So
it's not us.
Totally agree with you, Brendon. Let's see. Will it? Josh saying, will it come down to Bass again? Based on my prediction, you're going to see, you're going to hear.
Maybe.
I think Bass may come is going to be a factor today. And then Slinky, good to see you, buddy. We know our defense is going to show up. It's about our offensive game today. So, yep, we'll totally agree. Totally agree. So let's move on to something that we noted on the Wednesday show and the fantasy football show. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but what was very interesting, if you look at Josh Allen's stats last year to this year, they're pretty darn close. And I don't know how that's possible. It doesn't feel like they should be anywhere close to being the same, but they are. I mean, so if you look at his stats from last year to this year, take a look after the show and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's crazy to me that that's even a possibility, but it is. Were you surprised about that?
He's got more passing yards this year, more passing touchdowns. And it's not by much, but it's still more.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
Shocker to me. I'm sure it shocked you too when we threw that out there.
The only thing that's down is his completion percentage, and it's down by like 2%, I believe. I think he's 65%, and last year he was 67% through this time. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to my impact players. And then, guys, please, I haven't seen any predictions in the channel. Let's go. And nobody wants a $50
let's get those
Amazon gift card. Let's get those scores out there. Someone's going to win this week. Closest one will win. All right, let's get to my impact players. So, Taron Johnson. I think I use Taron Johnson, I don't know, 60% of the time on my slides. I love the guy. I love the kid. I think he makes big plays. He's great in coverage. And I keep saying, this is the week he's going to make a play. And I just know it's going to happen. If I keep saying it long enough, it's going to happen. And you were happy to hear that he's back. I am as well. He's a key piece to our defense. He is an impact player, and he can make a big play, and I think you might see something like that today. Spencer Brown, I'm throwing Spencer Brown out there. Everyone says we need Spencer Brown, and I agree. I mean, he has that chip on his shoulder. I want to see him getting that experience. He just brings a different mentality to the game, and again, we're not talking run, but if we did need to run, I'm going to his side all the time. If I need some yardage, I'm going to Spencer Brown's side. And then A.J. Klein. Getting the start in the middle. What's interesting about AJ Klein is, right, he was, I believe he was drafted by Carolina, right? And he played for McDermott when McDermott was with Carolina as the defensive coordinator. And I don't think he was a natural linebacker out of college. I think he played weak side linebacker. I don't know, Jake. You might know more on that. But he's played plenty in the middle. He played when Luke Kuechly would get injured. He actually started in the middle for the Saints when he spent 3 years with the Saints. And then here he is. He comes over to Buffalo last year, reunited with McDermott. And I'm excited to see what this guy's going to do. He brings experience. Now, we give up a lot of, I don't say a lot of speed. We give up some speed. We definitely give up some size. And with Edmonds' wingspan, that's a big play. But I think with his experience, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see if how big are we going to miss Jermaine Edmonds in the middle? And I think this is where Klein just says, "Let me show you. I'm going to show you that I can play when needed." And maybe the critics are right, where where Edmonds is not shooting the gap properly, and Klein might have that better instinct. Or the critics are going to be wrong after this. They're going to be like, "Oh my God, we need Edmonds." Just like
we need him back.
Just like we're saying we need Spencer Brown and we need Dawson Knox.
We're going to find out how much
exactly.
Jermaine Edmonds means to this team today.
And what can you tell me about Klein?
I think he brings a ton of energy. So similar to Spencer Brown, I mean, the guy's a natural born leader. He's got a ton of energy. He's made a lot of plays actually this year that have kind of been swept under the rug that we're forgetting about. I mean, he's a good linebacker. He's a good fill-in linebacker. I don't think he's a 3 or 4 down linebacker by any means, but when he's in, you know that he's in the game. So he can even get after the quarterback. I mean, he's made some plays rushing the passer even. So
5 sacks last year.
Yes.
5 sacks.
Yeah.
And 2 forced fumbles in 2020.
Yep.
And that was
big forced fumbles.
Not
too.
as a starter. That was just him coming in and filling the role. I mean, it was probably a starter when Milano was hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's as good in coverage. So I think that's where we're gonna lose a little bit there, obviously with speed, with coverage. But I think he'll make up for it with his instincts in the run game. And obviously, he could rush the passer. So maybe we do a little bit of blitzing with him. We'll see. But I think he does bring a new level of energy. And if he does struggle, Tyrell Dodson, I don't know if he's going to be active or not, but I've seen some good things out of him too. And I do like him. I haven't given up on him either. So another good option there as well.
Yeah, agree. I know you were excited about him. You thought he was actually going to get the start.
I did. Yeah. I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah. Yep.
Let's see here. So we're seeing some predictions out there. Cool. Slinky says, yeah, I already saw that one. Brennan, the drop off is crazy, but I'd rather have Klein replacing Edmonds rather than Milano. So,
yes,
right?
100%.
Yeah. Because, like I said, Klein does have that experience in the middle. So, again, I'm excited.
He's better in the middle. Yeah. I think right now, especially where he's at in his career, to put him in a position to replace Matt Lano, that is very scary to me.
Yeah.
And maybe a flip flop. Maybe Tyrell Dodson's the replacement there. You just don't know. But yeah, definitely agree with that.
All right, my impact players on the Jets is, again, they're skilled positions. I think they have a lot of good pieces. And Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, out of that backfield, like we mentioned, 20 targets a couple weeks ago. They're going to utilize their backs all day today, and they're going to use it both in the running game and the short passing game. So our linebackers, our nickel corners, they're going to be busy. This is a key piece here. Mike White likes to check down quite a bit. And hopefully, I mean, in theory, we're getting some type of pressure on him, and he's having to do a lot of those checkdowns, but we're going to need to be ready for that. I mean, come on, it's right there on film. If the Bills coordinators haven't seen this and come up with a game plan, I don't know what to say if that's the case. I'm expecting them to be ready for this. And then Corey Davis comes back. He's expected to play. He was their big signing, $37.5 million man. I think he gets something like $27 million guaranteed. This was a guy that Tennessee let go. They let him go and Jonnu Smith. And both of these guys were drafted by Tennessee. I felt they were young, budding. I mean, they're only, 5 years in? I think he was drafted number 5 back in 2016.
Yep.
I'm talking
Shout
about
out to the MAC, Western Michigan.
Corey Davis. And him and Jonnu Smith were just so talented, and they let both of them go. Now, yes, they got Julio, but I don't know if Julio's worth those 2 guys, in my opinion. No.
Yeah, well, what we've seen, definitely not. I mean, Corey's been injured too this year, so I guess you can kind of wash him out. But
right. So that's kind of my impact players. Again, it's just going to be shutting down these running backs, those plays out of the backfield, and getting the ball back. Any thoughts on my impact players there.
Love them. Love that you went all offense there. Yeah, like I said, those two running backs are dangerous. Ty Johnson, he's a stud. Michael Carter, I mean, he's really come into his own. He's a great pass catching back as well. Ty Johnson, super explosive kid out of Maryland. He's fast as hell, and he's a good football player. I like him a lot, and really, really good compliment to Michael Carter. So expect to see them on the field a lot, maybe even at the same time.
Yep. Agree. And you're saying you could even, this might be a week you could start 2 backs for
Right,
the
in
Jets in the fantasy football league.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. All right. So we're at that point in the show where we start talking about predictions. And hopefully most of you have put your prediction out there. Remember what I said? Someone's going to win a gift card, whoever the closest is. Jake, I need you to put yours out there first, and I'll give you mine. Put that in the channel
right now. Yep, here we go. Mike, I was telling you my prediction before the show, and I think I'm going to stick with my Bills score, but my Jets score is going to be a touch different.
Okay.
Just because they've been playing pretty good offensive football lately. All right, so I said Bills 30, Jets 20.
All right, did you put that out there?
Yes, I just put it in the chat now. Yeah, I know we're delayed a little bit.
Yeah, there it is.
So I personally think that this is a conservative prediction. I think 100% we're the better football team, but we just haven't shown it the last few weeks. So I'm trying to be careful here. And even saying we're going to score 30 points is scary to me. The Jets have allowed 31.1 or 31.3 points a game or something along those lines. So we're going to meet that average. And it's going to be a good day for us. But like you said, interdivision battles are always tough. And the Jets are going to come out and play. They're going to play us tough. Mike effing White is going to put the team on his back. And he's going to be, you know what? He's going to be dangerous out there. Elijah Moore, those receivers, they're going to get some targets today. And maybe a few of them, have a big day, It's going to be a test for our secondary. Our secondary seems to rise to the occasion all year long. Our defense has been good. We're missing Star now, though. That hurts a little bit.
Star and Edmonds, 2 big guys that are usually big in that run support. And also with these backs coming out of the backfield. So with missing Evans. But like we said, Klein, I think, is going to step in.
I think it's going to be like 27-20. And then Tyler Bass is going to come up huge again and kick a field goal to bury him. So it's going to be 30-20 Bills.
All right. My prediction's going in the channel right now. I'm going to predict a Bills victory, 20-17. Tyler Bass, 2 field goals, obviously. He's got to get his field goals because he's on my fantasy team, so I got to get some points from him. But I feel this is going to be a battle. I think he's going back and forth, and I believe Bass wins with a winning field goal towards the end of the game, and the defense holds on to win. So 2017, that's my prediction. Bills win. Beautiful.
And the Jets aren't a bad football team. So the fact that we're giving them 17 points, 20 points, I think that's reasonable. They put up 30 against this Colts team. That's pretty solid.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a totally different offense with Mike White or Josh Johnson or Joe Flacco. It really is.
Yeah,
Hate to say it. I like Zack Wilson. I am rooting for him, but he just hasn't been able to get in a rhythm with them. So it's been totally different, and it's been pretty encouraging if you're a Jets fan.
Yeah, when I said earlier in the show they're near the bottom in offense, well, that's not the last 2 weeks. Right? You look at those last 2 weeks with Mike White, it's completely different, like you said. So we're averaging, giving up, 14.8 points per game. But so 17 seems very reasonable, and I think it's just that interdivision. I think it's
tough.
Robert Saleh getting his team motivated. And Jake, if they win this game, they're only 2 games out of first place.
I know. And then we're back down with New England with our record.
Absolutely crazy. And we still have to play the Pats twice. We still have to play the Jets again. Now, fortunately, we're done with Miami. Man, oh man, I'm glad we're done with Miami.
I know they're getting hot now
because they're starting to tune up a little bit. That game, that display they put on Thursday night was, oh my God. I'm like, damn. So when it made me feel better about the 3-3 halftime when I was there in Buffalo, I'm like, this defense is getting it together. So, man, what a battle here. Fast game winner, Mike. Absolutely. That's what I said. That's what I said, Josh.
Let's go, Stubbs. I love it, man. And you know what? You know what's crazy? So the Bills are actually 12-point favorites in this game.
Oh
And
my
Stubb said
God.
they're going to win by 11. I said they're going to win by 10. So I don't think they're going to meet that spread. Every time we've been favored by that many points this season, going back to last week, we were favored by 14.5. The teams combined for 15 points. So, yeah, I don't trust that as
Do you know
far
what
as I
the
can
do you know what
see.
the actually I know Josh would know, but do you know by chance what the over is?
I
Over under?
I think maybe it's 48.5. I'm not entirely sure. Let me look that up. I'm curious about that myself.
Based on these numbers that both teams have been putting up, especially what Mike
It
White
should be
did,
higher, I would think.
do you think the over is a good bet? So I'd love to hear what Joshy says out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I'm curious too. Is Josh, are you a big bettor or you just know stuff like that? I know you're the football whisperer, so
Yes, he's the football
this is
whisperer.
huge.
He used to bet quite a bit. I don't know if he still is, but he loves to share his he loves to
It's
share his predictions.
47 and a half, it looks like, according to this.
Man,
This is on
we
FanDuel's
got it.
website. So
We got a good weather day. Perfect for
yeah,
football. Easily could see that happening. Now, if this turns into a shootout, I could see that
I could
happening.
too.
So maybe.
Always bet the over though, Mike. Life's too short to
Oh,
bet the under.
absolutely. I
Remember.
can't stand bet the under. No way. There's
Yeah.
so many
It's not
things.
fun.
Well, plus you can win with the over by
Right.
first quarter, halftime.
Yes.
I've seen that happen many
Very
times.
true. You don't want to root for a team not to score points. I mean, that's insane. As a fan, no one wants that.
Oh, definitely. For
I
sure.
mean, I appreciate good defense just as much as the next guy does, but don't get me wrong. It's nice to see some points put up, and especially if you're playing fantasy. I mean, come on, you need something.
So, closing thoughts, Jake, for you?
Yeah, closing thoughts are just one game at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping for the best.
Yep. Huge game. Like we said, huge game. And I hope we can do our post game show and be in more.
I want to be in a good mood for our post game show, Mike. I
Be
don't want to be
celebrating
drinking
this week.
bourbon and yeah. Exactly.
So I want to remind everyone, yes, we do a post-game show. We'll be back on at, let's see, it's 2 p.m. my time, which is Pacific Standard Time, and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be back to do our post-game show, and we hope all of you that have joined us here, we thank you so much. Hopefully you join us over there. I do want to remind everyone that we do some other shows during the week as well. We have a great golf show on Tuesday nights with Rick and Tony. They bring you some of the best DraftKings betting golf related content there is. And then on Wednesdays, we do our fantasy football show. And last week, Jake and I filled in for Rick. I've had to fill in a couple times now. Rick's been traveling. They actually went to the Dolphin game. I felt so bad for both Chris and Rick. They traveled to the Dolphins game.
That's tough.
Rick got there Wednesday. Chris flew out after he did the show with us on Wednesday. He flew out Thursday. And yeah, I can't imagine. But we saw them on social media. They're having a good time. They're making up for it. They're forgetting about that loss, just like we have to forget about that loss against the Jaguars. But yeah, so we have other shows, and again, we appreciate all you guys' support. Let's go Buffalo! Come on, I'm gonna work it in here. I got this awesome video of my son when he was at the Bills game, the Dolphins game, and they're doing the shout song.
Oh, I love it.
I gotta ask you this because I saw this on another show. The Jets chant. What is that thing? What do the Jets do? What's their
Go
thing?
Jets, Jets. And I think it was started by Fireman Ed, who was this fireman. He served and super famous guy. He's kind of like our Pinto Ron, our chef, so whatever, we have a bunch of famous Bills fans. So this Fireman Ed is crazy, season ticket holder. And I think actually he stopped going to games for a little bit. Now he's back. So
Okay.
I don't know if he was actually the one to start that chant, but that's their big thing.
Right. I saw one of the other Buffalo shows that I like to watch and support, and they had a guest on who was a Jet fan, and he was talking about how great that chant was, and then the Buffalo gentleman was throwing out the shout song, saying, "I think the shout song is great."
Way better.
And the Jets guy was like, "I don't think I went to a game and I don't even recall it." So the guy was at one of the Bills game and he didn't recall the shout song. And
How do you not? We play it nonstop, and then maybe we didn't score many points either, though. We usually play it after a touchdown or a field goal. And you can't go to a Buffalo wedding without that song being played.
Are
now.
you
At
serious?
our wedding, Mike.
That's a
yeah,
wedding?
everyone plays it. You don't even play the actual shout song anymore. You play the Bills shout song. That's just how it is in Buffalo. Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, we forgot to say your dad lowered his expectations on the sacks from 4 to 2. 1 star was announced that he's out again.
Nice, halved it.
Against breaking news, Star Lutuele is out on COVID protocol.
That's a killer.
So big,
That
big,
hurts.
big miss there. Josh says he's taking the year off from betting. So that was the response to your question there.
Probably a good move, Josh.
Yeah.
I was up a little bit last year, and then you get one tough loss, and I got stuck on parlays. I was excited because we won one parlay. It was actually during the Bills and Raiders game. The Bills won me that parlay, and I went nuts. I got a little carried away, and I'm like, I'm doing parlays every week, and none of them hit.
Yeah.
From then on out. So yeah, it's terrible.
I think it happens to all the bettors out there, right? They get that one win, or especially the rookies. They get that, like, oh man, I can do this every week.
Yes.
Josh Allen for MVP. Let's hope that Josh Allen returns this week. Josh,
that's right.
He shares his first name with you, so I'm hoping you're right there. All right, Jake, I'll see you later today. Thanks again. As always, you do great on the show. Love having you here.
Likewise, Mike.
Bunch of fun. So let's go, Buffalo. Let's celebrate this afternoon. Come on. We need this. Let's go.
I love it. Go Bills.
See you, everybody.